Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tabernacle Project podcast. And today we talking about the Sunken Place with myself, Jeffrey, and Christopher. Hope you enjoy the podcast. What defines the Sunken Place? Well, based on Urban Dictionary, the Sunken Place is when one is in a perpetual place of slumber regarding systematic injustice and oppression in regards to race. I mean, it's like, the complete opposite of being woke, especially a person of color who refuses to see it. That's the definition of sunken place. So my first question for you guys, how can someone get in the sunken place? Jeffrey?
The area that you live in, when you have never been exposed to something that calls you to kind of wake up to the reality of what the world is. So, a lot of black people that may be in the sunken place were never woke, the process of becoming woke, so to speak, is the process of understanding that what you thought you knew was not really the reality of it. What you thought you kind of grew up as, and what you thought sort of the world was, is not really what the reality. So to be in that sunken place is to really never have been woken to this is how the real world is. But also I think it's funny because in today's context, the sunken place sometimes it gets kind of skewed a little bit because some people call black men that date white women to be in the sunken place, or even something as small as I don't know, there's things that you may prefer in your individual life as a black man or a black woman to be in the sunken place. But I think the term is kind of used kind of very loosely, especially, of course, because the movie Get Out.
Yeah. Just to kind of go off what Jeffrey said, I don't really like using the word woke just because it's so overused all the time and people think that they're woke when they're actually asleep. I think that, being in just to kind of reiterate what Jeffrey was saying, definitely I feel like you do have to, if you are quote-unquote woke, you can't really get into a sunken place. I feel like a sunken place is, you're in a sunken place and you get out of the sunken place because you realize that, the truth that the truth that you were living by is actually a lie. And it's funny that we talk about the sunken place now because on Instagram, I saw this post about the guy. His name is Mr. Chang. I don't know if that's I don't know his first name, but he was the CEO. I think it's of Sony, and he was giving an interview just about on what Asians kind of their perception of the black man, and he was saying that the black man. Well, he didn't really talk much about the black man, but he really just talked about the Asian man and about Asian love and how the Asian man moves about things. And he believes that, not he believes, but everybody is under some form of white supremacy. So it's really just about, it's not necessarily the white supremacy part or just being in that state and just wanting to be up underneath somebody else, but it's about, having self-love. And it's about investing in the people that look like you and in your community and not trying to beg to be at somebody else's table that didn't invite you, if that's the right way to say it. To be in a sunken place, it's definitely, it's a sunken place. When I think of a sunken place, I think of quicksand. I think of, you feel like, you're maneuvering out, you feel like you're getting out, but in all reality, you're just sinking back into the line. It's a difficult place to get out of when you're in a sunken place. So, just to kind of answer the question, what a sunken place is, I feel like being in a sunken place is fighting, because our ancestors were slaves and they fought for their freedom, and that we're not slaves anymore, but it's still that life was given unto us. That freedom was still given to us. Somebody fought for that freedom, and we're now, you can't be fighting now to be up underneath somebody else. There's always a hierarchy. Nothing is fair in life. People talk about, everything to be equal and equality and stuff like that. That kind of goes against nature if you think about it. There's always a hierarchy. There's always somebody up on top of the other, but we just got to understand where we belong, and we don't belong up underneath anybody else. And it's not really about what anybody else is doing, but it's really just self-love and focusing on your community and the people that look like you, and you keep focusing on that. People are going to want to be a part of what you're doing, and not you want to be a part of what they're doing. So, yeah.
Okay.
And I think, like, just to kind of add to that too, like, I'm even like thinking back to like the movie Get Out and how like the scene where I think the main character where he's like sitting with his girlfriend's mom, and she like moves the spoon or whatever, and he ends up going into the sunken place, whatever, and just the idea of him being of like his actual self being sort of in this entire dark universe kind of world and not being able to really do anything. And I kind of interpret that as being like, everyone has the ability to sort of be quote unquote woke, or like quote unquote like understanding the reality of the situation when it comes to how we maneuver as a community. But at the same time, being in the second place is kind of being like, yeah, you're alive, you're here, you're functioning, you're moving, you're breathing, but you're kind of like a zombie in like whatever spot or sort of space in your brain that should be activated to kind of allow you to see the realities of what the actual world is. For some reason, it's so sunken back and so small in your mind that it's hard for you to really make any real progress in your life. And so that's why I think even when we talk to people about issues in the Black community, or when it comes to religion or anything, I think sometimes there can be a bit of frustration because of the amount of, or because of the level of that sunken place that a person is in. So for someone that sees no problem with racism or no problem with Christianity, sometimes you get so frustrated because you're like, man, how sunken or how in a sunken place like can you be that you can't see the destruction of these things, So again, I just kind of go back to that visual of what was in the movie, just how the guy, you could see his like literal subconscious, I guess, really get deep and deeper into the sort of like blackness type of thing, So I think that was a good visualization of sort of what that is in a sort of metaphoric sense,
Okay, so how I think people will actually get in the second place is, I think there's three things that can get somebody in second place. It's number one, I believe, is love or attractiveness. Two, I think, is money, and three, it could be either fame or self-pride. I believe those are the main factors that someone can get into the second place that can actually blind them from seeing other things. Like, love blinds you, money can blind you, and pride can blind you, and they all can lead to your downfalls. So that's what I believe, and you see that very prevalent if you see the stories of Samson when he was when he was young, and he could get any Israelite woman he wanted, but no, he wanted a Philistine woman, and that would end in him cutting the locks off, and to his own downfall. But at the same time, it was a Philistine's downfall if you read the story. And with Solomon, when he got his old age and he has a bunch of women from other different parts of the world coming at his place and bring all their problems and all their stuff with them, when he got older, he bonded him, and he turned into a really evil dude, a really bad dude, And it's surprising how, those three things that can change a person, even as strong as Samson, even as strong as Solomon, the wisest king ever, one of the strongest men ever.
That's really interesting that you say that, because I kind of feel like, I don't know if I would call them being in the second place, because I feel like they suffered from what all men suffer from. Like, if that's the case, all men are in the second place when it comes to women. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think, of course, like, we both know, like, both Samson and Solomon, they kind of had a weakness for either a particular woman or all types of women. But at the same time, like, we can't ignore, like, the fact that they sort of, one, they knew who they were, they knew who their people was. I mean, Samson was a judge who, like, kind of helped Israel, in many ways, and so did Solomon. So I think like I think a difference between being in the sunken place and what those men did. I would call what those men did again like they still prayed to like again like that weakness of a man, which is oftentimes a woman, I think. But I don't think that necessarily means that they're in the sunken place. I don't know. That's just my idea, but I'm curious to see what.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with that too. I mean, I feel like, when you talk about the sunken place, it could be very broad if you want it to be broad. Like you could say that Samson and Solomon, they were in the sunken place temporarily, just like a moment of weakness, they kind of, but just based on, how I kind of defined it before, I don't really feel like they really fall into that category. Yeah, they definitely did know who they were. They did know. It was just being a man. We all go through those same issues, and we all have those temptations, and it's really just about prevailing over it and just being, stronger than. Okay, for instance, like you could have, like for Samson's situation, you could have a beautiful woman that's a Philistine, and she could be outside of Israel, but you can't allow yourself to kind of to be sucked into what she's trying to do. Being an Israelite man, Solomon being an Israelite man, it's very important for them to be leaders and to keep their mind focused on what's important and what they got to do and their responsibilities and their obligations. And you could definitely be, you can even go back to Eve. She got. Well, I'm not even gonna get to that. I feel like that's kind of a little over some people's heads, but yeah, it was definitely temptation. It was definitely a plight that all men have to struggle through. Women, money, all these things can definitely change a man's perspective and how he sees certain things. It goes along with life and experience, and yeah, it's just understanding your priorities and your responsibilities, your obligations, and understanding who you are. And as long as you have that, I don't feel like you can truly be in a sunken place.
Well, okay.
If you know those things.
I mean, okay, so if you go back into, Solomon's story, at one part of his life, right, he was, doing certain things. He wouldn't allow people to sway him, because he was wise. And when he got older, I mean, you could tell, it says in the actual Bible, he actually was bowing down to other idols and stuff. Like, you doing some stuff that wasn't in his character, that's why I was thinking
right.
That wasn't, he was in the second place. He allowed that. Not saying like, you can date whatever who you want to. I'm just saying like that messed him up. He actually was out of character almost. Almost.
Right. That's true. He should have never did that in the first place. That shouldn't even be a thought in Israelite's mind. An Israelite man can't afford to make mistakes like that. I understand what you're coming from.
Yeah, I think when you put it like that, I think that doesn't make sense because, again, I don't know if I would say the same thing for Samson, but I think for Solomon, I can definitely see how, like, towards the end of his life, you can make the argument that his love for these women put him in the sunken place, or put him in a place again where he just sort of kind of put the entire nation really in jeopardy because of his actions. And as Chris was saying, like, especially as an Israelite man, like, we're taught in this world, of course, like, the things that are important are, the women we have, the money we have, but I think as an Israelite man, you kind of have to realize that, what's more important than any of that is following the instructions and sort of the laws of our God, and sort of not allowing, anything that is physical to take us off of what is our spiritual selves and our spiritual journey. And so I think for Solomon, because of what he did, again, I definitely see you can make an argument for him being sort of in that sunken place towards the end of his life. And not just him, I think there are like a bunch of kings that towards the end of their lives, they kind of made really bad decisions. I'm even thinking about King Asa, who, was a good king throughout the majority of his life, but towards the end of his life, he kind of made bad decisions. And so I think, again, like, for us as men, I think that's just sort of like, maybe to like humble us a bit, because I think we look at ourselves here on this platform and we can kind of say, oh, we're not in this sunken place. I think for us to always kind of be wary that, hey, like, later in life, something could come up, you know what I'm saying, where like you may be tempted to enter that sunken place because that sunken place kind of does feel good sometimes, you know what I'm saying? So, no, so I mean, I definitely see that you could definitely make an argument for Solomon, I think.
Okay, is there any more thoughts on that question? Okay, so when we proceed, what do you guys do if your friend was in the sunken place and you know he was in the sunken place? Like, how would you approach him or her?
I think it depends. Like
That's a pretty tough one. It's kind of circumstantial.
yeah, like like I've had friends, for example, like when it comes to being in the sunken place in terms of like Israel, right? Like I've had friends that like have no idea about the truth of the scriptures and like what it means to be an Israelite, and I've tried for years and years and years to talk to them about it, and it hasn't really peeped through. There are other friends that I know that like maybe aren't as maybe like fanatical when it comes to like black issues in the black community, who I think are kind of woke enough for them, maybe need me to kind of like preach to them, but maybe they're still sort of in the sunken place in a particular area, you know what I'm saying? Or like, I guess there are just so many different things and like so many different ways how a person can kind of be in the quote unquote sunken place. But I think the majority of the time, I think it's something I see as a problem. I think I would address it and speak to the person. But again, I think it depends on like what the situation is and what they're blind to, if that makes sense,
Yeah, that's kind of a tough one because I also need understanding that sometimes the truth isn't for everybody, which kind of sounds weird. It kind of, when you move around, you kind of feel like, the truth should speak on its own, and there's a reason why in the scriptures it says, those who have ears, loud in the ears, those who have eyes, loud in the see, things like this. I don't feel like, certain information is not for everybody, and it's, I'm not here to ridicule anybody for not being on, the same side as I am, or even adhering to the truth. Just because, I don't know how to word this. Just me being an Israelite. Okay, being an Israelite man, again, just going back to the responsibility and the obligations. You're a part of a community, and similar to Solomon, your actions affect a whole lot of people. Oh, Solomon is different, a little bit more different because he was a king, and he had a lot of influence in the nation. But just being a regular Israelite man is still important. You have a household still, so you're affecting not just your household. You're affecting your household. The household affects the community. The community, it trickles down. So the responsibility is there. And you go through history, the Israelite history, you'll see that any time that we've been put into slavery or anything negative has happened to us, it's because of not anybody else, but because of ourselves. Or the people that's around us. It affects everybody and affects the community. So there's that, but I do believe that it is circumstantial. It's all about perspective. You got to know the person. You got to know what their interests are, what their motives are, what they want in life. That's how it makes it a lot easier for you to approach it if you know those things, just so that you can break it down a certain way. And it says a lot about you too if you're able to convey that to somebody else. Because I feel like somebody it takes a lot. It's not easy telling somebody the truth, because sometimes the truth is hard to explain. And I think that's a key thing as well. Like with Albert Einstein, I feel what made Albert Einstein a genius is because he took this very complicated thing, which was what did Albert Einstein do? I can't even. E equals MC squared. He took a very complicated concept and he explained it in a way where everybody could understand it. E equals MC squared. So I think that really, it says a lot about you as well. You really got to be versatile in the truth and in your knowledge of what you know in order for you to get that point across. Because sometimes it's not even them, but it's you sometimes.
How I would approach it, I would take like a movie approach. You know how like you see when people have like mind possession or like someone else is taking control of them. People always like tend to remind them of the past, remind them, who they are. I'm your best friend. Remember you used to do this and this and that with me. Yeah, that's the kind of approach I would take. Trying to like remember I remember the scene from Lord of the Rings when I think one of the main characters, he had the ring, right? And then Sam, his sidekick, he was like, remember the strawberries, remember all that stuff. I was like, that's a very cool concept, you know, because that's what they always tell us in Israel, you know, when we're doing bad. It's like, remember what I did for Egypt, you know, remember that I took your forefathers out, you know, remember your forefathers, you know. I think that's like the best approach to me. Go in there hardball, because they're probably gonna reject you even more. Because, you know, it might make you cry when people remind you, like, hey, remember you used to do this? Why can't you do that anymore, you know?
Yeah, I feel like people, just to go off what you were saying, people do feel empowered when they feel like they're a part of something that's way bigger than themselves. You know, when you tell, like, even on the last podcast, we talked about it when I was talking to my friend, and he's an Italian. No, he's not Italian, he's Irish. He was born in New York, he's raised in New York, and he went back home. He didn't go back home, but he went to Ireland, you know, because his family is from there, and he learned about who his family was. And even though, they used to protect the queen, and they used to steal goats and all that, they used to be, they're cool people. And he was a part of that, and he felt empowered because of that. Even though he didn't necessarily do anything, he felt empowered because he knew that he was a part of that lineage. So, you know, people definitely do, adhere to certain things when they know that, do you know who you are, do you know where you come from, and who you are? Because it's a big responsibility, but it's so refreshing, you know, to know that you're a part of it. And, and that you're chosen. It really sets you aside from everybody else. That's a great way for you to get through to somebody.
And, you know, that's kind of interesting that you guys say that. And, you know, I wonder, like, when it comes to black people, like, I feel like the reason, maybe, and maybe you guys can chime in here, but maybe the reason why so many of our people we would say are inside this sunken place is because, like, it's, like, comfortable there, and so, like, because they don't know what happened before in terms of their ancestors and, like, who they really are, that there isn't really, like, when you present this person with the opportunity to kind of say, hey, look, like, the world that you think it, you know, is how it is, this is not really what the case is. There's sort of a rejection of it sometimes because, again, there's this discomfort to kind of say, well, I don't really know what my roots are. I'm not sure what my ancestors did. So therefore, if I don't know that, it's more comfortable for me to be, as Chris was saying, underneath somebody. It's more comfortable for me to be in this sunken place because, again, this is sort of what I know the world to be. So I feel like, when it comes to really trying to discuss this with anybody, when it comes to trying to get someone out of the quote-unquote sunken place for whatever that may be, I think, as you were saying, Cameron, it is definitely important to remind the person of the past and kind of inform them, as you were saying, Chris, about who they really are, because that way at least they have something to attach themselves to kind of help them to come out of that place. Because, again, I feel like sometimes people stay in that sunken place because it's just comfortable and it's all they know, and they think, like, this is all it's been throughout my entire life, so therefore this is what it needs to be. A perfect example is, like, the celebration of Christmas. Unless you know the roots of Christmas, like, you're going to keep doing Christmas until you kind of know, oh, well, this comes from, like, a pagan celebration. Oh, okay, cool. Then maybe I won't do that, you know what I'm saying? Because that's not what my ancestors did, you know what I'm saying? So, but, you know, that's my 2 cents on that.
Does anybody...
Yeah, I do think they're comfortable. Yeah. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Cameron.
Oh, I mean, you got more to add. I was about to ask if anybody got any more to add.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I feel like, it's definitely more comfortable to be in the sunken place. Normally, if you're in the sunken place, you've been there your whole entire life. You've kind of been, raised and you've been conformed to that. And it's difficult and it's not easy coming out of it. It takes a lot of strength and it takes a lot of, endurance. And that's the whole thing of it. It's not easy. And it takes a certain type of, person, certain types of characteristics in order for you to, get out of that and stay out of it. And that's the key thing. It's not even just about, getting out of it. Similar to, the art of Solomon, he knew what he was, but, there's still the possibility of you, backtracking and recycling that same spirit that has been, plaguing our ancestors for so long. And so it's not even just about, coming out of the sunken place, but staying out of the sunken place, and making sure that you understand, who you are. And like, for instance, like if I had diabetes, if my father had diabetes, I would know to stay away from sugar, because I know that sugar is a problem in my family, right? So it's kind of similar in this instance as well. Like, our people is kind of, we recycle that same spirit of, wanting to be a part of something else that we're not supposed to be a part of. So, you understanding that is definitely, I feel like, it's key as well to, getting out and staying out,
If I knew I wasn't, just woke up and knew, oh, you in the second place, I think that would probably be like a painful realization, that's like half the battle, just like even knowing, well, I guess like a third of it, like you just said, about getting out and staying out of it. I think that's like, that's like a big portion, because sometimes you really never know. That someone's like, hey, bro, you in a sunken place.
I don't think I would say that he's in a sunken place if somebody was really in a sunken place.
Yeah. Okay, so does anybody got any more to add to that? Okay, so let me segue. So like nowadays, it's 2018, and hopefully you guys listening this in 2018. If you listen in 2019, that'd be great. Media, social media nowadays, I saw this quote on Instagram, and it was like, the internet was an escape from real war back in the day, but now the real war is escaping the internet, and it's like a greatest tool and the greatest weapon, we can see everything, we can post everything, and at the same time, like, you see a lot, but sometimes you don't know if it was true or not, and that's the problem, So I was curious what you guys think. With the arrival with social media, does this bring us in or out of sunken place? Because, it helps us, realize some more stuff.
Well, with the internet, I feel like it brings a lot of things out of context, but I feel like everything that, that gets popularized in the world, there's always pros and cons. And, people tend to focus on a lot of the cons, but, I like to look at the positives with certain things. And I feel like with the internet, it reaches a broader audience, and it kind of connects you to people that, you wouldn't be connected to, get other, without the internet, that circumstance. But, you do have people who do have certain ideals that is not healthy for them, not healthy for anybody else. And instead of, keeping that to themselves and, them kind of being isolated, they can go on the internet and find people with the same ideals as them. And, that kind of just manifests and it cultivates and it bubbles up. And people run with that, and people pay attention to that as well. And they feel like they have a community where they can go and they have these same ideals that, is not good for them, and it's not good for themselves, and it's not good for the community, but, they don't feel alone. And but I feel like the internet is a great thing, though. I feel like in moderation, of course, everything in moderation. I feel like too much of anything is not good for you. So you just gotta understand when to take a break.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with Chris too. In that I think again, like, it just needs, as Chris always says, like, it needs a balance. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like, yeah, like, the use of the internet and social media can definitely spawn someone to come out of that sunken place, and it can spawn somebody to, sort of be awoken to what the realities are in the world, whether that be, something as categorical as, like, Black Lives Matter, or whether that be something as large as, like, environmental issues, or like whatever that may be. But it also can have, like, a backfiring effect where it can actually create a sunken place too. I think a good example of this is with, like, police brutality. Like, yeah, okay, you can show and display, hey, look how corrupt the police is, but at the same time, when you see it so often, you kind of get immune to it. So now when you see it, it's like, yeah, that's the norm, you know what I'm saying? And so you may not be as vocal about trying to change it, because it's like, yeah, the police are corrupt, so it's like, you can't really do anything about it. So I think at the end of the day, again, it really does require some balance, and at the end of the day, it depends on the person, because, like, a person can take the police brutality thing and say, yeah, I can't do anything about it, so therefore I'm just going to stay here and not do anything. So, like, are they any better than the person that didn't know about it in the first place? You know what I'm saying? And, like, I think, too, as Christian's saying, like, the internet has also, and, this has kind of been true, especially with these past presidential election in 2016, it's very polarizing, you know what I'm saying? So, like, you are mainly going to see the people in the content that you agree with. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, you're never going to, like, if I'm an MSNBC guy, I'm never really seeing Fox News, so I never know what the other side is. If I watch the Fox News channel, I never really watch MSNBC, so I never know what that side is. So, therefore, I'm always going to be surrounded by yes men, basically. You know what I'm saying? Where, like, no one is ever really challenging my point of view on anything. So I think, again, it requires some balance, and you got to be aware that, like, you have to continue to challenge your way of thinking, even if you're so certain it's right. Like, even us, like, on the phone now, like, even when we are speaking to each other and sort of speaking about things that we may assume is true, we still got to, you know, try to challenge the way that we think, too, because, again, it's so easy. I mean, just kind of going back to the analogy of with Solomon, like, again, the wisest man on earth, but at some point in his life became in that same place too. You know what I'm saying? So you always got to balance to kind of make sure that, like, your reality is what reality actually is. And it's kind of crazy when you think about it, but that's just how it is. But you have to constantly challenge yourself to kind of say, hey, am I living what I think is real and what really is the reality of what the world is? And am I trying to be as righteous and as just as possible? Or have I gotten really comfortable in this place? You know what I'm saying? So, again, I think this requires a bit of balance.
The internet and social media is bringing us closer into the second place, because we all know, I mean, there's always going to be someone behind the scenes and stuff. Like, you know, like you said earlier about the 2016 election, how, like, we getting all those ads from different countries, and we had no idea of it, you know? And almost like putting like almost a false narrative out, and like that's only like a tip of the iceberg. Like, Lord knows how many like false ads and false news have been getting viral around the internet that is just not true, you know. And like, it's like, you're right, you have to challenge yourself, and that's why, like, the way they want you, like, the more media you think you can consume is the more, like, you know, you get intake. And if you don't decipher it all, I mean, there's a lot, by the way, decipher it all is going to overwhelm you. So, like, eventually you're going to just take it as, like, take it as it is, you know? So, like, you know, like, since, you know, you see more things, you know, you got to, like you said, you got to take it with a grain of salt. But, you know, eventually you're going to get lazy, you know, or you may get lazy because you don't feel like, you know, reading between the lines or, like, you know, seeing if that's your factual. Like, no one got time for that. No, some people just want to see a YouTube video, you know. They're like, what if one of these YouTube videos is just, you know, looks so legit, but real talk, you know, it might be false, you know, and you just won't know unless you actually made the video.
No, I mean, just kind of bounce off that idea too. I think, like, there's also, I guess, like you were saying, like, because we live in this world of, like, information, like, there's sometimes it's too much. So, like, even people that are learning about Israel for the first time, like, I always say, like, I mean, I encourage people to do the research, but I also hesitate sometimes because I want to be like, look, not everything you read is true. You know what I'm saying? And not everything you come across in a video is true. You have to really, again, do research, and you have to dissect it and challenge whatever it is that's being presented to you, especially when it comes on the internet, because, of course, because that's the new medium these days. Like, we're not the new medium, but that is sort of the main medium these days. I think you have to, again, see that everyone puts everything on the internet, so you got to, of course, you know, like I was saying, continue to challenge those ideas and challenge what is presented before you, you know?
That actually gave me an idea, like, but I kind of encourage to a lot of newcomers and a lot of brethren, it's a challenge, you know, to ask questions, ask why you do certain things, why you do this, why you do that, you know. I mean, it's not being annoying. I think it's being more like, you learn more about yourself the more questions you ask, you know. Like, why do we celebrate the New Year's? Why do we do the Purim? Why do we do, you know, different things, you know? Like, why do we keep certain customs, you know? Why do we read the Bible? Why do we read King James? Why do we like Abraham? Why do we like Isaac? Or why do we like Jacob, you know? You know, there's certain things that make you like deep diver, and you gain more like respect. You gain more knowledge of what you're doing and why you're doing it. You know, that motivates you. Why are you doing this? You're doing this for generations and generations after you. You're doing this for your children. You're doing this so you won't put the generations before you in vain, you know? And that's why you teaching every Saturday. That's why you're keeping a culture. That's why you're doing this podcast right now. That's why it's important for you guys to listen to this. Because it's important to challenge. Challenge is good. And that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, the truth is gonna stand on its own, you know.
Yeah.
Humility is a very important characteristic, and it's hard to, you know, stick with that and be humble. It's a hard, you know, thing to, you know, constantly be humble and constantly, you know, challenge the truth and not always take things for what they are. But the truth is definitely going to, you know, stand on its own, and it's a process as well. You know, it's going to take time. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. And, you know, you got to understand that in order for you to get the truth, because everybody wants to know the truth. Like, nobody wants to believe the lie. People believe the lie because the lie is more entertaining, but the truth, everybody really wants to know what the truth is. You know, so if you really want to know what the truth is, you definitely gotta, it's gonna take some time. It's gonna take patience. It's gonna take a lot of questions, but it's necessary. And there's no questions that you can ask that, you know, can't be answered. Everything has an answer to it.
But there are stupid questions. Whoever said there's no stupid questions, there are stupid questions. Anyways, but like, yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like, this nation and this covenant is so solid, can't penetrate it. There's no holes to poke through. There's always something. Sometimes you're not ready to know it as of yet, or you know, sometimes, you know, you just got to learn it. You know, sometimes you just gotta pay attention at times. You know. Let's go to our next segment, the relevant article. So today, well, speaking of the Sunken place, a lot of people will be claiming that she's in the Sunken place. It's Stacey Dash. She comes on a Fox News network a lot. And, you know, she talks about stuff on the conservative side a lot. Apparently, she's running for Congress in California. And her district, the district is the 44th district. And that district includes Compton, Watts, San Pedro, and North Long Beach. So most of those cities, if you live in America, most of those cities, or if you watched Straight Outta Compton before, you know, most of those cities are black and Hispanic, you know. What you guys think?
Well, I think it's kind of interesting because, like, Stacey Dash kind of has a weird relationship with black people because her cousin is Dame Dash, who, like, is a huge hip-hop, like Rock Nation, you know what I'm saying? And, like, not just that, but also, like, Stacey Dash. I mean, before I knew her as being, like, a political commentator for, like, Fox News, I remember, like, she was in, like, movies that I liked. She was, like, the girl that all the guys wanted because she was a Stacey Dash. But, like, but I don't know, like, I guess as she has grown and had her experiences, she feels that the conservative media is sort of what has been working for her, and that's sort of what her stance in politics has been, and it is more of a conservative take. So all power to her, but at the same time, you know, I feel like Stacey Dash, I mean, she said a lot of, like, troublesome comments when it comes to, like, police brutality and, like, some things when it comes to, like, Black Lives Matter, but at the same time, like, I don't know, I'm always kind of weary with this idea of, like, calling, I mean, I know that certain black people need to be called out on their stuff, but I'm always kind of weary because I think about when it comes to black people, like, I don't necessarily think what we want is, like, people to think the same, you know what I'm saying? We do want people to kind of have different ideas when it comes to politics, you know, especially in the black community, because if we look around, most of our communities, as you just said, have been majority Democrat communities, but yet the communities are still bad, you know what I'm saying? So, like, it's not necessarily a bad idea for black people to kind of say, you know what, I'm going to see if I can take my vote somewhere else and see if that works. I think, again, with Stacey Dash, because of her commentary, that makes her more problematic, but I don't think her being necessarily a conservative was what makes it problematic, if that makes sense. Like, I think black people should, and really, I think should do it more when it comes to trying to see what kind of politics works for them. Because we really, for the past, like, you know, I think, you know, since the time of, like, you know, maybe a little bit after Lincoln, like, we've been a pretty much Democratic Party. prior to that we were like a Republican Party, and I think we just kind of have stayed the same way for such a long time. But I think like we sort of definitely need to see, hey, what politics works best for us. And I think if she feels that Stacey Dash that would be the conservative agenda, then that's completely fine. Again, I just think that we as Black people have to make that decision. And again, some of her statements that she said have been problematic in the past.
Yeah, I agree with that. By the way, before someone fact checks us, it was after like JFK, we started voting for Democrats.
Okay, yeah, so change that in there.
You good?
Yeah, that's a huge gap.
Yeah, so after JFK, when we transferred over to the Democratic Party.
Oh, you good, bro? You don't have to say it, bro. It's already too late, bro. I ain't editing that out. Chris.
Yeah, I don't know too much about Stacey Dash's, like her accolades or anything. Like I know about her commentating on certain issues that happen in the Black community, but as far as politics, I don't know. I was surprised to even hear that she was. I thought it was fake news, man. I felt like Donald Trump. I thought it was fake news because I'm like, why is Stacey Dash running for Congress? But yeah, I mean, with Black people, with politics is so complicated, honestly. I feel like we need to definitely kind of implant ourselves in the system in order to kind of detangle it in a way. Stacey Dash is obviously not the Black community's first pick for that. But I'm all for, trying different options. It's kind of weird. My disposition as an Israelite man is weird. It's because when you look at certain things that happens in the United States, it's certain things and why certain things is happening, and the course of action that needs to happen in order for there to be a solution. But then you have the intricate stuff, which is the politics, the business of it, the corporations and all that. Like, you gotta be able to understand those mediums in order for you to make a difference and actually make a change. I don't know how I even got to that. It's just weird to see Stacey Dash.
I don't know how I got to that. Who says that? Whatever. Does anybody got any more else to add on that? Okay, let's start sleeper verses now. Does anybody got the verse already? If not, I'll go first.
Yeah, maybe you go first.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, you go first.
Yeah, okay. Alright, so I'm gonna read Exodus 2, verse 11 to 14. Alright. And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren. He looked this way, and he looked that way. And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strode together. And he said to him that did the wrong, Wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? And he said, Who made thee a prince and judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me, and thou killest the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, Surely this thing is known. So I like this verse. This verse really stuck. Well, this couple of verses stuck to me because that's kind of like how our nation got started, by Moses that grew up in Egypt. I was like, hold up, that's one of my brothers. He wasn't even related to the brother. He just got up and he killed a dude just for beating up his brother, and all of a sudden. And then all of a sudden, the whole community knows when he says, "Oh, this thing is really known," because he was trying to do it in secret. When he looked this way and looked that way, and he killed a dude, And then the dude didn't even say thank you. Which is kind of messed up. And he's also said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Like, come on, man. I could have gotten in trouble for that, bro. You can't say, hey, thank you. You know what I mean? Like, not at all. But okay.
Right?
Anyways. But yeah, that's my sleeper verse. Anybody else ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, Jeff.
Okay, so my sleeper verse is actually Job 38, and just like from context, like this is right after Job is having all the issues, and his friends, they come over to kind of give advice, but then finally God kind of answers. So yeah. And the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I would demand of thee, and answer thou me. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. Who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest? Or who hath stretched a line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Or who shut up the sea with doors when it break forth, as if it had issued out of the womb? And I made the cloud the garment thereof, and the thick darkness a swaddling band for it, and break up for it my decreed place, and set bars and doors. And so, the entire chapter just kind of keeps going on in terms of the different things that the God of Israel did to sort of create the earth. But I kind of chose this as my sleeper verse because I kind of feel like it's definitely a slept on kind of chapter, because it's just so much strength and power that's in this verse, or in this entire chapter, when it kind of comes to, again, just how the God of Israel goes into kind of detail in terms of how he created the heavens and the earth. And again, this kind of attitude that he has with Job and those who are around him, trying to give him counsel, like, look, like, you guys weren't there when I created all this, and you guys don't really have any say in anything. You know what I'm saying? I think the entire book of Job, for me anyway, really hits home the point that God, as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he does whatever he wants, right? And so just by you sort of being alive is a blessing, So I think that, again, just is really something that stands out in this chapter.
Okay. Chris?
You can hear me now?
I can hear you, bro.
You can hear me? Okay.
You?
So I was scrambling. You say you can hear me or no?
I can hear you, dog.
Oh, you can't? Oh, man.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
I can been hear you.
Well, you say can or can't?
Oh my God. Yes, I can. Oh my God. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So, I was scrambling around trying to find a verse to actually read. I'm going to read Leviticus 25, and that's going to be verse 39. Just to kind of, I feel like, I can kind of expand on this. Just, earlier we talked about, just who we are, and we talked about community earlier. I don't know how this is really going to play into that, but I'm going to read it anyway. Verse 39. And if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxen poor, and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bondservant, as a hired servant, and as a sojourner. He shall be with thee, and shall serve thee unto the year of Jubilee. And then shall he depart from thee, both he and his children with him, and shall return unto his own family, and unto the possessions of his fathers shall he return. For they are my servants, which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as bondmen. So, thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but shall fear thy God. I feel like that's an important verse as well. I kind of just, for this verse, for me anyway, I feel like it just kind of puts certain things in the context, the broader picture of things, and how you're supposed to treat, the people in your community. So back in the day, they did have servants, people that were sold unto them from different nations. And if you're in a situation where, your brother is sold unto you, he's not your slave. And again, kind of reiterate what Jeffrey was saying with his verse, that person doesn't even belong to us. That person belongs to, the God of Israel. Something a lot bigger than yourself. So he's not going to be your servant. He can't be your servant. You could hire him and he could work for you, but he's not your servant. He's not. You can't buy him. Which puts the importance on the actual person in your community, how you're supposed to treat each other, how you're supposed to go about it, and try to empower everybody that's in our community that sits like us. Because if you set a table for yourself, you want to be able to invite people and have them enjoy themselves. That's a parable. Not a parable, but that's kind of like I can say a parable. If you're setting a table for yourself and you have people at your table, you want people that you want at your table. You don't want to see, or you don't even want to go to somebody else's table and you want invited. So I just think it's important. It's not about hating everybody else, but it's about loving ourselves. I just love my people more. It's not even anti you. I just love my people more. And when you have other cultures doing the same thing, and we look down on them for that, I can't really relate to that, really, because I understand that if I was in that position, I want the same thing for myself. I want the same thing for my family. And knowing who I am as an Israelite man, that this verse kind of puts it into context, that I can't be a slave, not by my own brother. Even if somebody else was to, take me into slavery, I don't even belong to them. I belong to the Most High. So I feel like that's a good verse.
That was a great verse. Does anybody got anything else to add to any of that? That's it for the podcast. Yeah, please like, share, and subscribe. And we out.